All right, you grasshoppers, we are back here today. This studly gentleman, Mark Puttenvink. So a bit of a backstory here. Mark and I had connected on Facebook. I did not realize who he was. Mark had been a fitness coach with the New York Rangers, actually many years ago when my old college roommate, Walt Kyle, was assistant coach with the Rangers. I didn't realize that. We hooked up on Facebook. We a lot of the same philosophies about training, the mental and physical part. And actually, Mark got me into Mark. I think you guys remember back months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, when they had to swim across the Hudson, and I was lucky enough to get some Navy SEALs on. Mark trained those guys to get ready for that swim. So this is Mark Puttenvink, a good friend of mine, really an influential guy with me. I'm really happy he's in my life. We talk a lot about philosophies, about training mentally and physically, and I learned a lot from this young man too. So how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, man. I'm really happy to be here. I'm excited about hopefully we can share a little knowledge with everybody today.
Yeah, definitely. So so Mark and I talk pretty frequently. We get like a couple of philosophers, I guess, on the phone sometimes. And if you guys have heard me talk about intermittent fasting, and for years I had trainers talk to me about intermittent fasting. You know, I'm the stubborn old guy. No, I know everything. You know, I don't need to do intermittent fasting. And Mark's got a really good way about him too. Like, he wasn't pushing it on me, but during this whole, we spent a lot of time together during that swim across the Hudson. And he was explaining to me about autophagy and all the things, good things it does for your body. And I started thinking, oh, geez, maybe I could try intermittent fasting. So now I'm the intermittent fasting king because of you. So it's cool stuff.
Yeah. So, going back to 2012, I was introduced to the whole concept of intermittent fasting. And part of my business and my work and my career has been professional boxing as well. So, making weight for fighters is always a big issue, and it's a problem for most guys because you don't want to lose strength, but you got to make weight. And most fighters walk around anywhere from 10 to 20 pounds over their fighting weight. I don't agree with it, but that's what they do. So when I discovered intermittent fasting, I gave it a shot, and I, immediately got transformation, loss of body fat, and not that it was that high to begin with, but still I got down below 10%. I was hovering about 9%. And I was very excited about the prospect of utilizing this with my fighters. And, it's the same thing, Tom. I just kind of gently mentioned it and didn't want to push it hard because traditionally what they do is they do what we call try out. They just dehydrate. And in fact, so much so that some have gone into renal failure the day of the fight because they don't have enough time to rehydrate. And it used to be in most professional fighting in all the states that you weighed in the same day as your fight. So guys didn't have enough time to rehydrate. So they changed it. Most of the states now, I know New York, New Jersey and stuff, the only state I'm familiar with is Pennsylvania. You still weigh in the day of the fight, but now all the states have gone 24 hours before the fight, so you have a chance to rehydrate. But what I really when I did a deep dive into intermittent fasting, and I spent a lot of time researching it, there's more to just the aesthetics of the fasting. It's really about giving your body a chance to heal. We're not made to eat as much as we do, or as frequently as we do. And if you think about nature, you hunt. We were hunters and women were gatherers. And we killed an animal, we ate it all, and maybe it was 3 or 4 days before we ate again. And we really haven't changed. Our reptilian brain and our makeup is still functioning in that capacity. And we overeat tremendously in this country. And I mean, all we have to do is look at the clinical obesity rates in the United States right now. It's, I think, around 40%, which is incredibly high. And it leads to a lot of clinical illness, some that are deadly when you think about cancer and diabetes and cardiovascular disease. So there's a process you and I talk about, autophagy, where the cell has a chance to heal, and it can only occur in a fasted state. And so, again, the aesthetics or the weight control, if you're an athlete that competes in a weight category sport, that's incredibly important. But also the healing process and the health benefits to fasting.
So just everybody to be clear too, I've talked about this before. So we fast, like I do a 16-hour fast. I think you fast a little bit longer than that, don't you? Don't you go?
Sometimes I, stretch out to 20 hours. Right. Last year I did a 5-day fast, And it wasn't a complete calorie-free fast. Mitch Aguilar, one of the SEALs that you met, he's a fighter now, and he has a supplement company, and he has a product called it's Smashing Greens. So you get it's like all your chlorophyll and all your greens. And so I would do like 1 or 2 or 3 of those drinks a day, and I did it for 5 days, and it was pretty tough. But it's also like a little bit of a mental challenge. Can you do it?
Definitely. So just so everybody's be clear, so at 12 hours after you eat your last meal, roughly, your body has cleaned everything out, all the calories, all the sugars, everything. And that's when your body, like Mark is talking about, starts to heal itself. You know, the autophagy is autophagy actually means to eat yourself. It sounds a bit bad, but your body's eating up all the bad things inside your body, burning up all the excess fat. And that's what I didn't understand. Just like you're saying, I thought it was really just to burn fat, but all the health benefits, like cleaning up the dead brain cells and regenerating new cells and all that. Apparently, it even increases the production of human growth hormone in your body if you fast long enough too. So it's fantastic. And you know what? I should be careful here too. I want to back up a little bit. What is the name of your company?
Patriot Training Systems.
Patriot Training. So Mark does a lot of training of police officers, military personnel. It's not just that. You train anybody that wants to. So if people want to get a hold of you, do you have a website that can get a hold of you at?
Yeah, it's patriottrainingsystems.com.
Okay, perfect. So that's, again, you specialize in that kind of training for military personnel, police officers, fighters, but you can also train.
Yeah, also general population, just basic self-defense, situational awareness. Jumping off topic here a bit, but when I talk about self-defense really goes in this hierarchy, and it's avoid, escape, de-escalate, confrontation. So if you see a threat, you avoid it. If you can't avoid it, you try to figure out a way to escape it. If you can't escape it, you try to de-escalate it. And if all those things fail, then you have to confront the attacker. But again, I can go on for hours about that. Maybe another time we will. But so yeah, it's a little bit of self-defense. It's situational awareness, being able to identify threats, and also training. Pat McNamara, who's another special, he was a Green Beret. He likes to say that the reasons that we train, why we work out, are for longevity and health. Okay. Then there's to save your own life. So pull yourself out of a river. You need pulling strength, or get out of a car that's on fire, or save someone else's life, pull them out of a car that's on fire. And the last one is to kick some butt. So, that's the last.
Nothing wrong with that. That's wrong with that. What's funny too? I think a lot of people that may be listening are going, I'll never need this kind of stuff. You know what? And chances are you will never have to protect yourself. We went to the extreme. We went out with the Navy SEAL, and he taught us some tactical training. And, it was really an eye-opener how little I knew about dealing with a weapon like that we were dealing with. So again, you'll probably never, and you don't, and I think part of it too is when you're trained that way, you don't go looking for a confrontation because you're confident in yourself. You don't have to prove to anybody, particularly yourself, that you can handle yourself in a confrontation. Therefore, you're going to avoid it. Like, I think you train people, right, to listen, don't go looking for a confrontation. In fact, get away from it.
Yeah. So one of the things that people have to understand is in self-defense that you could end up in jail. So there's a degree of escalation in force. And part of that is we like to teach, if you're going to strike somebody, you attach, so that if you do, create a concussion or they get knocked out, that they don't fall back on the back of their head, and then you got a whole nother issue on your hands. You're not looking to take the fight into the second or third or fourth round. You want to just protect yourself. In addition to that, you want to live another day, and that's the most important part of it. But if you really zero in on your situational awareness and and have the capability to identify threats, probably not going to get in a situation that you're going to ever have to use your self-defense. But that said, always want to have a course of action, not reaction.
I'm going to tell them the story about the video you sent me there recently with the dancing bear. So, and and this is another example how I talk over and over about how you can really train your mind, and Mark believes in this as well. Mark sent me a video, and what did you want me to count? There was something you wanted me to count.
It looks like it's on a parking deck, and about, I'd say, a dozen individuals, and half are wearing white shirts and half are wearing a darker shirt. And there's one basketball, and they start passing the basketball around, And the question is, how many times does the white team pass the ball?
Okay, so let me interrupt there. So Mark sends me this video. So I said, I'm going to get this because Mark and I are always talking about this stuff. He said, this is a challenge. I'm going to get it. So I'm concentrating really hard on, I think it was the white guys, how many times they passed the ball to each other. So I counted them up, but I think got to 22, whatever the number was. And then Mark says, oh, did you notice the dancing bear? And I go, what dancing bear? There's no dancing bear in there. So now you go back and watch the video, and the dancing bear is right in the middle. And the point of the whole thing was that that situational awareness, or being aware of your surroundings and everything. So I'm concentrating so hard on the task that Mark had given me to count the ball being passed. I missed the dancing bear altogether. Now you go back and watch the video. The dancing bear is right in front of you. And it's really now, we were talking about this the other day. So I really make a point now, if I'm out for my morning march, I really try to notice all the things around me. So I'm not just out there going on a march. I'll notice if there's a yellow flag in the ground because they're digging someplace, okay, now, and then 100 yards up the road, I'll think to myself, okay, what color was that flag? I'll try to test myself. It was a yellow flag, so it's really made me much more aware. And again, we're talking about extremes here, people, where you think, well, I'll never need that. But there's so many situations where, you walk into a room and you're not paying attention to what's going on, and you're kind of leaving yourself potentially in jeopardy. But that was pretty cool, the way to notice. That's how I reacted.
That video is a standard video for law enforcement academies. It's a little bit of a trick because you get a task and you kind of focus in on that task. But again, it does illustrate how sometimes we can't, it's like the old story, like you're looking for the salt shaker and it's right in front of you.
Yeah. Like I know, so how many times, maybe this is a sign of getting a little bit older too, but you walk around looking for your phone and you've got it in your hand.
Exactly. There's a drill or a practice or a training that the military uses called KIM. It's an acronym for keep in memory. So you have an assembly, let's say, on a table of different items. Somebody puts it out there for you, and then you have 30 seconds to look at it, and then you got to turn away, and whoever you're working with will give you questions as to, particular things about what was on that table. And again, it's just like being an athlete. You can train and train and train, and you're going to get better. And one of the things that it's a little taking it to another extreme, but I know some special operators, either Green Beret or SEALs or guys like that, they'll go into a room and they can tell you how many outlets are in that room, like that, because they really focus in on it. But more importantly, so let's say I'm in a restaurant. Where's the fire extinguisher? I mean, how many times do we go to a restaurant and we just go, we order dinner, and we don't pay attention to what really could be a reaction as opposed to an action? Right. So, where's the exit? Okay, so the front door. And
I was thinking that too, right? We think to yourself, well, why am I going to look for the exit? But in that 1 in a million chance that you need to get out of there, if you haven't, and it doesn't hurt you to do that practice. In fact, by practicing that all the time, you're like, you want to make yourself stronger. You go into the gym and you lift more weights, right? You want to increase your brain and make it stronger. Well, train it more, right? And that's a good example.
You want to make a callus. You want to develop a callus. And, again, I don't want people to walk around completely just dialed in on everything they're looking at. But if you do train it periodically, a few times a day, you're going to do it and not realize it and still be able to go about your business and just be,
it doesn't have to, you're right. The more you do it, it just becomes second nature. I've learned like so much during this. In fact, I use this saying now, maybe I got it from you, but I've learned to learn more. Yeah. I go into the gym now, and I always make a point of, like, if I'm doing 5 sets of 12 and whatever exercise, I make sure that I try to put a weight on so that at the 8th or 9th rep of those 12, I get to the point where my body naturally and my mind naturally is telling me to quit. I'm getting tired. So if your body and your mind wants you to protect yourself, so it kind of sends that message to you, okay, that's enough, slow down, stop. But I've got to the point now where I just automatically, the switch goes off. It's like, okay, I'm not worried about 12. I'm just worried about 9. And then I'm worried about 10, and I'm worried about 11. And it's amazing. Like, I've really trained my mind more. Like, I don't even have to think about it now. It just happens automatically.
Well, so it's interesting you say that, because I started when COVID first hit. I was like, okay, what do I do now? And I had really nothing in the house because I had been going to a gym to do my weight training and all that kind of stuff. So I said, well, I do have a pull-up bar and I have a floor. So I can do pull-ups and push-ups till my head explodes. That's pretty much what I did. And I started tracking every single day what I did. I figured, you know what, let's set up a goal. Let's follow this right through the pandemic and see what happens. And I have it here. And I started recording it on April 8th. Okay. And I got to about, I don't know, May or June, and I decided, okay, well, I got a couple thousand pull-ups and a couple thousand push-ups. Let's try to get to 5,000 pull-ups and 10,000 push-ups by August. And I got to, I'm jumping ahead here, August 29th. I already had the 10,000 push-ups done. That was pretty easy. Not easy, but it's easier than the pull-ups, right? I was 400 short. 400. Yeah. So I thought, well, you know what? I could do 4 reps. 4 pull-ups is nothing.
Yeah.
But I'll do 100 sets. And I did it. And you know, when you think, and again, it gets to like, if I said to you, Tom, today we're going to do 400 pull-ups, you'd look at me and go, no, we're not. Yeah, you mind?
Yeah.
But if you break it up into four reps for 100 sets, and I thought it was going to take me a long time. It took me about, I think I wrote it down, 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Really?
Not too bad. And there were other points in leading up to this where I would try to do 50 pull-ups as fast as I could. So like I would do 25 reps, catch my breath, do 15, then do sets of 5. And I got down to like 3 minutes and 8 seconds, which is crazy. But again, it's a personal challenge. And what I think I really picked up on the whole COVID thing, the isolation part of it, Tom, and I think everybody's suffering a little bit from the isolation.
Yeah.
Is a good way, for me anyhow, to kind of avoid any mild depression or thinking about it too much, was to every day have a different challenge in my training. So it kept me motivated. I took a log I found back in the woods. I went to Home Depot. I bought door handles. I screwed them in. So now I had a log bar to do cleans and presses, curls and trunk turns and all kinds of stuff with it. And so it became a little bit of a challenge. It became a little bit kind of fun thing to do, figure out different ways to get it done.
People ask me all the time too, do I ever take a day off from training? And I actually did take a day off on Sunday. I actually should take more days off than I do, but I really find myself that when I get out of the routine, my daily routine, up at 3:30, bed's made perfect, out the door by 4, the whole thing, getting to the gym, and my day just doesn't seem as good, right? And I think that's the point. Like, you have your thing, right? I have my thing that I do. And I think it's important to say to everybody that's out there, you don't have to be like Mark. You don't have to be like Tom. You don't have to be like a Navy SEAL. You got to figure out what works for you. And really, like, to me, I think everybody can always be pushing themselves to get better. It isn't just to say, okay, I got this certain goal. And if I want to get healthy, you want to lose weight. I say, well, if you want to lose 20 pounds, I say, well, I don't like getting on like diets and stuff like that, because then once you reach your 20 pounds, what are you going to do at that point? You go back to eating all that crappy food again. You want that healthy lifestyle, and the weight will come off by being healthy and working out and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's really important during COVID. I mean, we really wanted to touch on that for everybody, because, we still got a long way to go with this COVID thing too. And it's gone on for a long time. And like you said, there's a lot of people, I meet a lot of people that they're depressed. They're, dragging around, and they just, it's the uncertainty of when is this going to end? Who do we trust? What's the truth? What isn't the truth? And really it's taking care of yourself. I think that's the big thing too, right? It's not, I don't want to get into a big political speech here, but I think sometimes we wait for other people to help us instead of us helping ourselves, right? That's
very true. And all of us, I mean, I fall into that sometimes.
Sure.
It's just human nature. So I coach, we're shut down now because of COVID, but I'm a boxing coach up at West Point, the military academy for the Army. And, coming from a background dealing in professional boxing and amateur boxing, where it's pretty much urban kids. I mean, it's really an urban sport. So you're dealing with a different mentality. Those kids, those young men and women are pretty much toughened already, hardened at an early age because of what they have to deal with in life. And then going to the military academy, the one thing I did notice between the kids who are, in an environment that's very tough and the military academy, which is a very tough environment in a different way, is that they're really focused in on every word you say, because their mindset is structured such that they realize that if they don't stay on point, they're not going to succeed. If they don't pay attention to what's being told to them or coached to them, they're not going to succeed. Where with general population, and you've seen this when you coach amateur hockey with some of the kids, you're trying to teach them something, and their mind's wandering. They're not paying attention for whatever reason. so it's an interesting thing. And, you and I, we discussed earlier, we want to talk about mindset, and we've been very fortunate to meet some really successful Navy SEALs, and they all come from so many different kinds of backgrounds, right, Tom? The men we have met. And I like to, two stories, and you and I have talked about it, but the first swim we did 2 years ago, there was a guy that, so, we set up the ships. We started at Liberty State Park. The men swim to Statue of Liberty. There's the first year we had the New York Fire Department's Marine One there. They get up on deck. I have pull-up stations constructed. They do push-ups and pull-ups to remember everybody that came to this country. Then we go to Ellis Island. They swim there, and there's another ship there. The first year we had Army Corps of Engineers both there. Same thing. I had pull-up stations I built, and they did push-ups, and they got back in the water and got wet and swam over to New York and continued out to 9/11 Memorial, more pull-ups and push-ups. So last year, because of COVID, New York Fire Department couldn't provide a vessel. Army Corps of Engineers couldn't provide a vessel. And I called up Bill Brown, our good friend Bill Brown, who's SEAL Team 8, and he is the power behind this swim. He's the one who puts it all together and works incredibly hard. And I called up Bill. I said, "Hey, I've got a problem." I said, "What is it?" I said, New York Fire Department and Army Corps of Engineers pulled out because of COVID. And by the way, this is like less than a week before the swim. He said 3 words: "We move forward." I hung the phone up. Okay, but even at an older age, I learned a valuable lesson.
Yeah,
get it done. Just
yeah, that's true.
And I actually was able to get it done. With a lot of help from a tremendous amount of people, but we move forward, and that's a great lesson. And and that, the mindset.
What I really found was interesting with those Navy SEALs. I think you and I talked about this in the past. Like you see them, there's hardened guys, right? I mean, they're warriors, they're trained. The things they've done, most of us will never even think of doing. Good and maybe some bad stuff that they had to do. But when you talk to them, they're the most thoughtful guys. Like if they come up and I was really surprised with this too. Like they were all like this. They come up and they ask you how you're doing. It isn't just a question that they're asking, and then their eyes are wandering around someplace else. They ask you and they stare you right in the eye, and they listen to every word you say. Like it's almost like everything that they do in their life, they're going to do it the right way. They're not just going to go through the motions, right? So they're like Bill said, get it done. We move forward. You find a way to get it done. It's just, I was really impressed by that. We did a podcast with Kenny Bigby Jr., who's a fantastic guy. I'm going to have him on again. He's just training out in Indianapolis, I believe it is. And we were talking, and I told him a story about it. As you know from coaching, in hockey, there's a term called closing the gap, right? So if I'm the defensive defenseman, there's an offensive player coming towards me. I want to get close to him. I don't want to give him an opportunity to do what he wants to do. I want to close that gap. And I said, that's the same thing in life. If you got problems that you're dealing with, don't let the problem dictate, what's going on. You go close the gap on that problem. And I'm watching him when I'm saying this stuff, and he's like intently listening, and he's going, that is unbelievable. They said that was incredible. Like he paid attention to every word. And I'm thinking to myself, these guys are Navy SEAls, I played in National Hockey League, but these guys have done all this other stuff. I had him on again for another podcast, probably like a month later. He goes, Tom, it's unbelievable. Like when I go to teach now, I use that term. He goes, close the gap. And he was so excited. And again, that's another thing. Like he was so willing to learn, even though he's done all these great things. And that really helped me look and say too, like I'm learned to learn more, right? You've never learned enough. There's always more.
The interesting thing that I've come to find out about Navy SEALs, MARSOC, Special Forces, when they're not deployed, they're training. And when I'm training, so maybe they come back and now they're going to do Arctic training, or they're going to do NAV training, or JTAC calling it. So they're always training and they're always learning. And that's, one of the most important lessons I learned from it is just, keep on learning. There's no reason not to learn.
Right. And you really find yourself too. It's like you feel so much better about yourself too. And I'm again noticing those guys, and there's lots of people like this too. But I think this is something I really learned over the last few years doing all this True Grit Life stuff, is that the more you do for other people, the better you are yourself. You make yourself a stronger person, right? Because it's that mentality that if you're really a strong person, you're going to pull other people up with you. It's not the strong person doesn't push everybody else down to lower the level. You want to raise the level of the people around you, right?
Absolutely. I'm going out to see Kenny in May.
What's that?
I'm going to go see Kenny in May.
Oh, are you? Yeah.
Yeah.
What does he teach? Muay Thai? Is that what he teaches?
He's a Muay Thai black belt. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. But he's also been involved with my community of martial arts, which is the Filipino martial arts. And there's a guy by the name of Jared Wahangi, who is a New Zealander, but he lives here. He was on a SWAT team in Utah, and he teaches tactical, hand-to-hand, knife and stuff like that. And he's doing a seminar out there, and I'm going to go out there, and Kenny will be there. So we just did one probably 3 weeks ago, I want to say, up in Roxbury, New Jersey. Good friend of mine has he was a Las Vegas police officer, and now he's an Essex County sheriff. He's also a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, Brazilian. Right. So we had about 20 law enforcement agents there, and we're working on knife disarms for about 2 hours. It was a great day, but and again, it's similar to the SEAL community in that they're all brothers, and it's like hockey, Tom. It's the same thing. Like, you're playing on the Rangers and you're playing the Kings, and somebody cross checks, I don't know, pick a player, and you're going to go after them. Now you're on the Kings and you're playing Vancouver, and somebody. Yeah. So it's who's sitting next to you and who's in your room and who's your brother.
That's a great point. So early in Marty McSorley's career, he was in Pittsburgh and I was with the Rangers. We had a great scrap. It's a good YouTube video. And then we're playing together in Los Angeles. And you're right. It's like, okay, so we tried to knock each other's heads off, 5 years ago, but now we're teammates. And if somebody tries to knock your head off, I'm going to come and defend you, right?
Exactly.
You talk about the brother thing too. And I know I've told this story so many times, but you get out with the Navy SEALs, they all call you brother, right? They start to hate brother. And I'm thinking to myself, am I allowed to call this guy brother? Because I'm not really part of their fraternity, right? Like I have the hockey, like I know how hockey guys are sometimes. You're not rude about it, but if somebody tries too hard to be part of the group, they've got to earn their stripes first too, right? They got to come in. So I'm with Kenny. I said, Kenny, should I be calling you brother? Like, she said, yeah, you're my brother. Yeah. It was got funny. It was just funny. My reaction, the way I reacted to it. So they're good guys. But I tell you, being around those guys, you really learn a lot, right? It's, I think you learn a lot about humility and everything, because here's these guys, they're the elite of the elite, but they don't act like anything than anybody else.
No,
they're normal guys. Yeah.
I want to circle back. I lost track, but the first swim. So I'm a guy. I work with.
Just Mark, real quick. So just everybody's aware, this is a swim across the Hudson, right? So they swam from Ellis Island. They swam to one barge, did 100 push-ups, 22 pull-ups.
Oh, yeah. We started Liberty State Park on the New Jersey side. And
that's right.
The first leg is to Statue of Liberty, where they get out of the water and they do push-ups and pull-ups. They get wet. They swim to Ellis Island. We've got another boat there. They do more push-ups and pull-ups, and then they swim to New York. In total, it's around 2.5 miles. But the problem is you can't swim straight across the river because of the currents.
Yeah.
So it becomes a little much longer. But it's an incredible thing. And I've done I've been part of probably a half a dozen what they call dial-in swims, where they do the swim, but they don't stop. They go straight across because there's no boat. So they're there for the day of the event. And Bill Brown does it to check the currents and figure the best time to get in the water and everything like that. Because the first leg to Statue, the current's really pushing hard to slam them into the statue.
Yeah.
And they got to time everything right. But so I get there the first year, and I see a gentleman who's older, probably my age, and doesn't look like he's been in a gym in a while, but he's a SEAL, obviously, and he's wearing flip-flops. And when we're on the New York side, all the guys had their sneakers there to do the run up to the memorial. And I'm a flip-flop guy. I wear them all year round. And so I started running up. I said, "Hey, man, what's up with the flip-flops?" He said, I didn't realize I had to bring sneakers because I just found out about this last night. He goes, "I was in a bar last night because I'm Irish." And then he says that he goes, I'm a SEAL. So the whole thing is this guy didn't train. He just woke up Saturday morning, drove over to New Jersey, talked to Bill. Bill said, "Yeah, you can do it." Swam across the Hudson, did all push-ups, all the pull-ups. And the guy was it's amazing. And that's that mentality. They don't question anything. They just, okay, fine, let's do it.
Yeah. So a big thing we wanted to get across today, guys, everybody listening, was that, it's a tough time. There's no getting away from it. COVID is not fun. But doing something like, for me, it's my routine in the morning, particularly getting yourself going. Mark, it might be different to his workout. Whatever you have for a routine. Get on that routine. And really, like, to me, your level of discipline is going to be different than my level or Mark's level, but have discipline in your life. And you know, listen, I don't think there's anything wrong with acknowledging it. This is tough. This is not an easy time for people. And there's a lot of people around, but don't get caught up in all the negativity. You know, do what you need to do for yourself. You're healthy mentally and physically. So we can all get through it.
You know, one thing that is a proven fact, and you could Google it, the best thing for depression or any kind of mental anxiety is physical training. It's the best, and it's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Go for
even just going out for power walks or whatever too, right? It doesn't have to be in the gym pounding iron or like that. It's exercise.
No, just get up and move.
Definitely. Well, listen, we're going to make a habit of having this fine, studly gentleman on more often. This groovy grasshopper. You. So it was great talk. All right, everybody, be careful in the snow out there. I'm going to go out there and see if Ron Greshner is like out there doing snow angels as my neighbor. But all right, everybody, we'll talk to you later.
Have a great one.